welcome back to SGU Uncut for our summer series, Summer Slump. In week 1, we talked about intentionality, being intentional with our relationship with Christ this summer. Week 2, we talked about being consistent with our relationship with Christ through attending church regularly, attending our small groups regularly, and praying regularly. And today, for week 3, I'm joined by Emily. Emily, before I jump into our topic, could you just go ahead and introduce yourself?
Of
to our friends?
course.
I'm sure they know you by now, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
For anyone that's new, my name's Emily. I lead Small Group University, so I'm really excited to be on this side of the screen this time.
It's weird. It's wigging me out. Let's just change. Just kidding.
I kind of like this whole thing, though.
I like it. I think it looks really good. So thank you for joining us. I appreciate you coming on to be my guest.
I love it.
I love it. It's so great. That's right. But today we're talking about worshiping in the worries. So throughout the summer, we've been really working on, during our series, staying strong and with intentionality and consistency, all of those good things. But today's kind of talking about what happens if we end up in the inevitable slump, because I'm sure we'll have a day, a 2, a 3, 4, many days.
Just a couple months.
Just, of hardship and what we can do, some realistic things that we can do to pull ourselves out of those moments. So before we jump into too much of that in our worshiping and the worries, I asked this to everybody. I'm sure everyone watching is going to know the question I asked.
I have a feeling what you're going to ask.
Right? What is something you're just so over the moon excited about to do this summer?
I have a couple trips coming up. New York, North Carolina, California, the beach. I'm excited for all those. I feel like the more I kept scheduling, though, the more I was like, I feel like it's going to be the opposite of relaxing. But
Seriously.
I'm still excited.
It's okay to be a little, busy. We actually talked about that in one of the other episodes.
We did.
So that's exciting. Oh my gosh. So exciting. I hope that I get to go to the beach too. That is so awesome. So today we're kind of focusing on, of course, like those slumping moments, those hardship moments. So I'm going to open up the question to you. Has there been a time, or is there anything specific that you feel like you slack off with in the summer, of course, throughout the year, but specifically in the summer that you feel like you kind of push on that back burner just a little too much? Okay.
I'm taking summer classes for school.
Oh, goodness.
Absolutely slacking off on that. It's not going great.
Yeah.
But
Mom, don't watch this, please.
I know. Oh, my gosh. I always wait till that last second to, pull my grades up.
That's right. I mean, it's good to have that last-minute motivation. I feel that. my school is, on a 6-month, it goes by 6 months, so there's, no off time for me. So I seriously.
That's a long time to be taking
it is.
Courses.
And so I slack off for a long time.
There you go. Yeah.
So I totally agree with what you just said. So in those moments, do you feel like you're ever slipping away from God, by slacking off? I know this is a little bit of another question there.
Yeah. I would say yes, just because when I start slacking off in one thing, I start slacking off in another. Because I'm like, I'm fine over there, so I can be fine over here too.
Right.
But in reality, that's not really the case.
Well, in the summer, do you feel like you slack more? I guess slack off is such a harsh term. But, you take more of that break and that absence from God. Do you feel like it's more so, in the summer?
Maybe, because there's, like you said earlier, there's so many exciting things going on that I'm having so much fun doing things with my friends, going on these trips, and God's not at the forefront of that. I don't see him, especially, if I'm not with people from my small group or going to church every weekend, I'm not around people who are oh, what about God? I'm he just
What's
slips
up,
back.
God?
Yeah.
Right. So now I'm going to ask a question. Has there been, a hard time, in the summer? It could be any time of year, but, in the summer specifically, where you felt like those previous times where you kind of took that leave of absence from God, where you felt like you really struggled in those moments because of that lack of buildup?
Yes.
Has there been an experience that you can share with us, that you're comfortable sharing with us?
Yeah.
Where you've experienced that hardship and that slump because you've not built up that consistency with him?
Yeah. I feel like the more I drift away from God in the summer, really any time of year, the more anxiety builds up, honestly, because it's peace is.
Peace.
When I said it, I was thinking PIEC. I was like, that's not the right word, but
peace.
But that peace is missing inside of me.
Right.
And so the anxiety comes in, the depression comes in, and I get stuck in those episodes, and it's hard to pull myself back in. And the summer, it stinks because, I'm trying to have fun with my friends, but, all these feelings are inside of me, and I'm I can't get rid of them. Right. And I know in the back of my mind it's because I'm not engaging in my faith life as much as I should be.
Right.
But I hope to learn from this episode how to make that a priority.
And this whole series too.
Yeah.
Because every episode you learn a little something, you know? So there's a Bible verse that talks about kind of equipping us with the tools to be able to move forward and have that peace of heart with using what we've learned from the other episodes, intentionality and consistency. So the Bible verse goes like this. She is clothed. Also, side note, this is one of my favorite Bible verses ever. Like, absolutely ever.
I feel like you have a whole list.
I do. I actually think I have a running Word document, which I love. I love it. So she is clothed in strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. So before I even say anything, what sticks out to you here? What is something that you really feel in this Bible verse?
I just love the laughing, honestly. Laughs without fear, because it's like, first off, I just love laughing. I think everyone does, but so that jumps out because I don't really, when I think of the Bible, I don't think about laughing so much as like stories and learning things, but there's like all these things, like there's a book called I Heard God Laugh by Matthew Kelly, and seeing God put that in us, that he clothes us in strength and dignity. He put those things in us so that it's ridiculous that we would have any fear of the future, or like the anxiety and depression I talked about. Why would we experience that if we know that God clothed us in that?
Right. And I think like looking at this, I too look at the laughing part, because you don't hear that a lot, you know, in the Bible. It's very like, you know, serious and learning and a lot of important moments. And I think we need to give a little credit also to this first part where we're clothed in strength and dignity. It's our armor pieces kind of
I
to
love
move
that
out
word,
into
the armor.
Right, to move out into the world. And so with your experience, you had mentioned, you know, anxiety and depression. I can tell you I experienced those things too. Has there been anything that's helped you move away from those? Again, it's really hard. And so has there been anything that's helped you kind of anchor you out of those moments?
Absolutely. I think going back to the faith community, being in a small group, I think, is what helps me the most, because I'm surrounded by people with the same values and beliefs in God, that they encourage me to be like, try prayer, try talking to us about it, because we might have some scripture for you, or we can pray with you. Right. All that kind of stuff.
I truly believe, like, you are who you surround yourself with. And I think in those moments of that slump, because we all get in it, I'll tell you.
Right.
Surrounding yourself with people who not only love you, but care about your spiritual health as well as your mental health, like, can totally just change your whole world and your perspective. Had to say it.
Had to get it in there.
Perspective. Go back to watch the episodes to hear all their perspective talk. But truly, like, I appreciate you sharing that with us. And as we go to get ready to wrap up on this episode, you know, I have a question for everyone, but for you. So what is something that you are going to keep in mind or do this summer to keep God at the forefront of your worries? And that's a hard question. And I know that, again, I want you guys to really reflect on that as well, to choose God in those hard moments, because it is so hard. It is so hard. Yeah. But what is something that you can kind of give us insight on what you might do to keep God at the forefront of your worries this summer?
I think my first step touches on what we just talked about, the faith community, committing, putting it on my calendar so nothing else gets scheduled for both small group and mass, because mass is also, it just, the messages you hear, the music, that you can feel it in your heart, and everyone's, it's so amazing to me. It's like if you go to a Christian concert or a conference or mass just all together, you're surrounded by hundreds of people worshiping the same God. Right. And it's so powerful.
It's so I'll tell you, some of my most moving moments was when I saw my two best friends sandwiching me, praising Jesus, and like we're crying and things like that. But I agree. It's so important. And when we get in that slump, it's not easy. And we both know this on a deep level. And so what we're trying to encourage everyone in these moments is to recognize that there is a God who is good, who is loving, and who wants you and who wants to pursue you. And even in those moments, if we kind of try to remember our weeks 1 and weeks 2, where we're choosing the consistency specifically, so week 2, being consistent in the actions before these moments should hopefully help bring us out of these slumps, you know, in our slump.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you. It's again, it's kind of odd, you know, to kind of switch, but I appreciate this opportunity to just hear from you in just a deeper way, and for you to share with all of us. And I hope that our conversation fuels your conversation in small groups. We hope that you guys have a great summer, and we can't wait to see you guys next week for our final week of Summer Slump. We will see you next week, and we'll catch you on the flippy flip.